there's a song title with the acronym PRBD, and I'm not going to say what it is because, again, I don't think it's aged very well, but the song itself, I remember when it got reviewed by someone, they said that's got to be the most offensive song title of the century thus far.
Hello and welcome to Home Recorded Podcast. I am here today with guitar extraordinaire Bob Harvey. Hello, Bob.
Hello.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm really, really good, Shane. I'm great, man. Life is great. We go back longer than we can actually remember, I would suggest, Shane. Our grandfathers, I think, were friends, and then our fathers were friends, and now we're friends, yeah.
Yeah, that is a long way back.
That is about as long back as it gets, I reckon.
I'll just go straight into a memory that I have of when I first moved back to Cooma when I was 16. And we were in class. My first day of class, and
it was like food tech or home economics or something, wasn't it?
Yep. And the teacher had called out the names, and all the names got called out. My name got called out, and instantly there was excitement by the person next to me. It happened to be you. Both of us started talking like crazy for like 5-10 minutes, and I think the whole class had gone quiet, and the teacher had to interrupt us and say,
well, we catch up on 10 years of not seeing each other. Yeah, we're just like, oh man, because we were like, to preface this, you and I were like best friends as kids, right? Like,
right.
You know when your parents have, their friends, and they're your first friends, right? Your parents' friends are your first friends, like your cousins, right?
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing. So you and I were like this as kids. Like, I was closer with you than I was Alex. Mm-hmm. And Alex is my little brother and a very good friend of Shane's as well.
Yeah.
And there was at one point, I remember it was me and you, dude. I remember it. Back when we were little kids, man. Little kids.
Once, we're sitting in that classroom, and after talking for 10 minutes, going blah, 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 really loud. And the teacher's like, are you guys right? Can we get on with class now?
You can get a room later. Yeah, catch up later, whatever.
Yeah. And then I remember straight after that class, I think we ended up leaving the school and probably going and spending the rest of the day doing other recreational things other than doing schoolwork.
Yeah. I think that's probably what happened. Yeah.
Well, we went and played guitar. I know that. Started sort of delving into like what kind of music we were both into, and straight away connecting on with the guitar. And
it's funny, man, because I've been, since you gave me the heads up you were going to do this, I started sort of thinking about, the stuff that we've done together musically over the years. Like, we haven't done anything for a long, long time, but back in those days, back in where we're from, there was I can remember coming to your place and coming out of town and staying at your place, and I, what, man, for whatever reason, just Regurgitator. I always remember Regurgitator.
Yep.
And there was those friends of yours, they had that song Vula's Vibrator.
Oh, yes, Humbug,
man. That bit, I remember them as well.
That's a classic. Wow, shout out dude. Humbug, man.
Yeah, man, shout out to that band, because I remember I was just like, I remember you showed me, and I was like, dude, I'm almost obsessed. I remember the drummer being absolutely incredible in that band.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was just that Kryptonite, that was the first song on the EP, wasn't it? There
Unreal, wow, yeah. That's classic.
Yeah, man, those sorts of it brought a lot of stuff back when you mentioned that you wanted to do this. I'm like, okay, what do we talk about? Okay,
yeah.
Here we go. But I was listening to Two playing today, and I'm like, oh, that's right,
yeah.
Kung Fu Sing.
Kung Fu Sing, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yep. So it brought back a lot of really, really fun, positive memories from when we were younger. So,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Shout out Regurgitator, man. Regurgitator were playing in Albury, and their support band was Glitterous. Now to go further, I talked to Glitterous after the show. Then they got me as a support band for them one time, and then whilst I was talking to them at a bar in Melbourne for that show, they mentioned that they knew you.
What a small world, eh?
I was just like, what? Bob? Yeah. And they're like, yeah, Bob's amazing. We love Bob. And they were like, he speaks really highly of you. And I was like, hell yeah. So
yeah, I don't think they quite realise how far you and I go back.
right.
But I know the gang from Glitterous mainly through the store, but Sam, the guitarist, the lead guitarist, I know her through Advanced Custom Guitars, a local builder here who builds, funnily enough, he's built me 3 guitars already, another one on the way. But I met Andrew, I think, Andrew. I met Andrew through the Advanced Custom Guitars, and actually have she's lovely.
She's amazing. Awesome guitarist.
Yeah, you know what? She's definitely, you know what? It's like, and it's something I try and instill in people. Like, for those of you that don't know, I work in a music shop. I sell guitars. That's my job, right? That's what I do. So when I do it, I try and tell people, just do what makes you happy. You don't have to be, Eddie Van Halen or anything. Just do what makes you play the notes that make you happy. And Andrew is one of those players that when she does play, you can, it's just all out there. It's all heart. She means every note. That freedom of expression is awesome. I really respect that.
Absolutely. Shout out Malcolm and Kevin and Glitterous. Amazing. I love those girls. Doing a support act for them was a huge thing for me. Huge. Because I come from, you know what I'm like. I love grunge rock. And they kind of just instill grunge rock like it's, you know what I mean? That's like the core of their band, and it's just
that punk sort of attitude.
Yeah.
That real, like, basically there's 2 middle fingers at everyone. If you don't like it,
exactly.
Love
it. 100%. To go back a little bit again, if once from high school, you were in a band called DOZER there from what year was that? That was
about 97, I think.
Yep.
97. It was funny. There was a 5-piece band. There was 2 Adams, 2 Bens, and a Bob. And I met Ben R. Let's say Ben R, the vocalist. I met him through recreational activities, we say.
Yeah.
And he heard that I played guitar, and he said, "Oh, you should come out and jam with my mate. He's a drummer." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no worries." And that mate is Adam, and Adam Warner. He had a very unorthodox style of playing, but it just kind of worked. And we just hit it off. We pretty much wrote, I think the first day we were out, the first time I went out to his place out of town, I think we wrote about 3 songs. And then from there we got Reedy on bass. That was another Adam. And he was a bit more into the extreme metal side of things, but he was happy to come and play and just be in a band with some people. Dozer's music was kind of it's that classic kind of thing, but it's like that groove metal was a really, really big influence on Dozer. Bands like Pantera and that sort of thing was a huge, were a huge influence on what I wanted to do with that band and what I was writing at the time.
Sure.
And then the last piece of the puzzle was Nuts.
Mansfield.
Ben Mansfield. Yep. So the second Ben. So I knew him through school, and we'd sort of played guitar a little bit together, and I knew him to be a very, very good guitarist, like better than me. So to have him in the band was pretty cool, and we wrote some really fun music, had some really good times, played some great shows as a band.
I was there for many of those shows too. There was some good times, and
it was a good time. It was just good, small town, just good.
Absolutely,
good time. And then things happened. We recorded, and the recording was an interesting process. It taught me a lot about, because I'd never recorded before. I'd never even hit record on a tape recorder and played a riff. So going into what was then the studio we used, it was out of Cathcart of all places, down towards the coast, down towards Merimbula and Eden and that sort of way.
Yep.
We spent a few days out there recording in this studio, and I look back on it and I'm proud of it because we did it. But it's like that whole thing. You always look back and you're like,
mate, I don't have it. I've got 4 albums now, and I don't like one of them.
You know what? But other people will tell you they do. They like it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. No one cares if you like it or not. Yeah. If other people like it and it's made them happy, then who cares? Right?
But I think that's an artist thing. You just want. Yeah. But I don't think it can be a bad thing because it just means you want to get better. You know what I mean? You always.
And you push yourself to get better, right? And you evolve, and that's it. And funnily enough, that's exactly what happened with that band. So, and it ended up the band started morphing from this sort of groove metal thing into, I guess you would say, just balls out thrash. Think Exodus and Testament and that sort of Tankard and bands like that. And we started to sort of go down that path, and then for whatever reason, people sort of moved away. Everything sort of fell apart a little bit for a couple of years.
Right.
So we'd gone from DOZER with the original vocalist.
Yep.
We went to Psychoticus.
That's right.
I hate that name. It's so cringy, but it is.
Sure.
And then the third iteration of the band was the one when we'd all moved to, well, most of us had moved to Canberra, was SMUG GOAT.
That's right.
And SMUG GOAT, we got the name from beer. Of all things, we got the name from beer, right? Because we love a beer. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, that band.
Yep.
Again, just balls out thrash. We recorded a really, really crappy 3-song demo kind of thing, and then the band fell apart. People moving away, and
sure.
But
it's a lot of bands, when they fall apart or whatever they do, it's the memories, it's the fun times, it's all it's all that. It's you cherish those forever.
Within 6 weeks of SMUG GOAT disbanding, both Reedy and I were in another band.
Okay, yep.
This customer of mine had come in and said, yeah, we've got the vocalist and it's me on guitar and this drummer and we need a bass player. Do you know anyone? And I just said, yeah, I know just the guy. And I was thinking of Reedy. I got all this stuff for Reedy, showed him the stuff. He was really, really interested. And the guy had said, look, have a listen to it and see what you think. I'm listening to it and as soon as I heard it, I could hear these guitar parts that weren't in there. And I'm just like, have you ever thought of having another guitarist in the band? He's like, I honestly hadn't thought of it. And I said, can I come along and have a jam? And I said, yeah, no worries. So I rocked over there on a Friday night. It was just me, the other guitarist, and the drummer. I rock up and said, cool, let's play this one. And they're like, oh, do you want to know how it goes? And I went, no, I figured it all out. I'm good to go. Let's just bang, 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of thing. And played it with all of these parts that I'd sort of heard in my head. I started playing it and they're just like, what the hell? What's this? Cool, you're in. So nice. I don't want to say I imposed my will, but I kind of said, look, maybe it'll work. And that band was it's called Point 17, and it's like death metal, really sort of classic brutal death metal.
Yep.
They're still going, funnily enough. They released an album 2 years ago. I left in 2008. I left that band. Okay. And they're still going. They're still ripping. So we're actually playing a gig with them in January.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah. So we've done a few gigs. They played our my current band WRETCH. They played our album launch.
Well, we'll get back to WRETCH in a minute, but I just wanted to go back a little bit more and just bring myself into the story.
Of course, there's another band in there.
There's another band in there. With what was that? Overdrive. It started out.
One of those cringy names, and then
yeah, which was founded, I guess, by what was his name? Pete. Yep.
You know what? I can still play some of the songs, man.
Wow.
I can still. There's this.
I can't even remember the songs at all.
Dude, there's this one riff, and it's never ever left me, Shane. It was you'll know it. It was almost like the melody one,
right?
And it's never ever left me because it was a weird timing and it was really catchy, and I just remembered it. It's 20 years. And I can still remember how to play it.
Wow, that's unreal. You've got a good memory. You've got a good memory for stuff like that.
And I was the drummer in the band. I didn't even play guitar in this band. So yeah, that
was a good foundation for myself. I mean, I thought that was a lot of fun. We did we did a gig in Jindabyne to 80 people one time.
That's right. We played at the theatre there. And you know what? I'm just going to say too. There was one other person in that band we haven't touched on. That was Andrew Dakin.
Andrew Dakin, absolutely. And I'm just going to chuck up some photos here of us playing. Yeah. Here's Andrew Dakin, and here's here's us playing at Kelly's, and here's us playing in Jindabyne. We played in Jindabyne. Yeah, I just remember one of the biggest things I got out of that too was once we'd been doing it for a while, and I remember you actually pushed me to be the singer. Like you were really pushing me to be the front man, but I'd always sung and I'd always done that in the past, but I'd never sort of had someone push me. And I appreciated that from you to say, you need to be up front, you need to be doing this, and that actually made me excel in that area. So I appreciate that, Bob. I really appreciate you sort of pushing me out there and saying, nah, man, you've got this, because it's easy. It's easy in bands for each other, bring each other down. I've worked with a lot of bands that have a lot of ego, you know what I mean? People and egos between each musicians can really either make you or break you in a lot of ways. And I think to have people push you in the right direction or say, you're really good at that, even if you're not, I think it's still good to push a musician, that is trying, because one day they can go from being okay to being fucking amazing. So I think,
and it's the right kind of push too. And I think that's something that I've certainly learned over the years, and I've been the pusher and I've been pushed. And it's a really, really interesting thing when you're being pushed, when you start to realize that these people are, they'll do it for one or two reasons. Either, like you said, they're trying to make you better, or they're trying to make you fail so that you'll go away.
So coming back now, where are we? So
I finished point 17 in 2008.
Yep. Okay. And now are we heading into WRETCH field? Is this?
We're really close. We're one step away.
Okay.
So one of my absolute best mates in the world is a guy by the name of Jason Phelan, and I've known Jason for going on 20 years. I've known this guy, and he is absolutely one of the best guitarists I've ever known in my life. He's one of those guys that can just play anything. So, oh yeah, cool, I'll play a Dream Theater solo. Oh, cool, I'll play a Brian May solo. Oh, cool, I'll play a Megadeth solo. He's that guy.
Right.
Went and saw Judas Priest, because we're massive Judas Priest fans. Went up to see Judas Priest in Sydney in about 2008. We said, you know what we should do? We should do like a Judas Priest tribute. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we could do all of these songs, we could do Metal Gods and, all of like the classic Priest songs, and do like a Judas Priest show. And we're like, I don't know if anyone would want to see a whole show of Judas Priest. What if we did like Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest? Yeah, that'd be cool. We do Iron Maiden hits and Judas Priest hits. We're like, maybe if we just did Iron Maiden. and prefaces, Jason was playing he'd done a couple of tribute shows. He'd done like a Dio versus Ozzy thing, and an Ozzy Osbourne night and a Dio night and that sort of thing. So he already had the nucleus of this band. Where he put it to the other guys in his band to say, do you want to do an Iron Maiden? So yeah, sure, that sounds like fun, And he's like, I've got this guy Bob, and I know Matt. I've known Matt the singer for about a decade by now. I've known him already he works at the music shop I bought guitars and things from. And got there, did a couple of gigs, did a couple of gigs with the Maiden band. It was a lot of fun. And one night, I remember I rocked up to a rehearsal and I was wearing a Nazem shirt. Nazem are a Swedish grindcore band. And I had this Nazem shirt, and it was the album cover for Human 2.0, it's a grindcore masterpiece. Anyway, Duncan, the drummer, says, oh man, you like grindcore? I do too. Do you want to jam some grindcore sometime? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I've actually written stuff. He's like, oh, sweet. So we actually organised our own rehearsal, aside from Live Evil, the Iron Maiden cover band that we were doing, and got together, and that's where WRETCH started. Right. So Duncan and I, we wrote a few songs, and it really come together, and we're like, oh, we just need, some more personnel, I guess. So we got another guitarist, Naif, and we got this, we tried a few vocalists out, and we ended up with a guy named Joel, and Joel was just, man... It makes me a bit heavy, because Joel, when he started in this band, he was a fucking lion. Like, my God, he was like, when he was on, he was one of the most ferocious frontmen. Like, he was almost menacing. And then towards the end of his tenure with WRETCH, he was self-medicating because he had a medical issue. He didn't know what it was. Turns out it's MS. And he's like wheelchair bound now. He's like, I think he's like 34 years old, so he's not an old man, and he's basically in a wheelchair now, and he's just doing what he can, and he's got full-time care and stuff, and it just kills me because this guy was just such a lion on stage. He was just this energy and this presence on stage. We managed to capture him recorded twice. Like, we did an EP called The Purveyors of Senseless Violence, right, and then we did our first album, which was called Because You're Worthless.
Are these available for people to listen to?
They're on Bandcamp, yeah. They're on Bandcamp. Maybe we'll put a link. I don't want to say what it is because it's quite vulgar.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll put a link in the thing. I'll give you the link and you can add it to the thing later.
Sure. Yep.
You can download it off Bandcamp. There were physical copies of the stuff, but I don't think there's any left.
And WRETCH is WRETCH.
You're like,
oh, okay, that's what it. All right,
like WRETCH, like a bad person, right?
Sure.
God, WRETCH have been a band for 10 years this year.
Wow, so, that has gone
years.
Fast, actually.
It has, man. It has, and we've had a time, man. Let me tell you, we've done some amazing stuff in that band.
That's great.
We got this vocalist Benji, and Benji is a bit scary, like a bit menacing on stage, but he's He's the biggest teddy bear. He really is. He's the best.
Yeah.
And he's a video game nerd, and he collects old VHS, like really old B-grade VHS, and he loves VB and Chico rolls like me, and he loves footy, and he's just a regular, just a nice dude. He's just a real softie, but like on stage, he's just a different dude.
Right.
And he came in and joined the band, and we recorded an album in 2015 with that lineup. So Benji, Nath, Duncan, and myself up in Brisbane with Adam Merker at Studio Enders De Beers. I've known Adam for years through the store I work in. I used to look after some of the Mesa Boogie endorsees, and he was one in his band. Mm-hmm. So I've known him for a long, long time. He recorded us. The bass player we got, his name's Marcus, and Marcus is like, man, if you want the funniest dude to be around when you're on tour or you're in a van or you're on a plane, or he's just the funniest dude. He's just so funny. Marcus played in an old school kind of death metal band called Tortured, and they had corpse paint like they'd been chopped in the face, like they were zombies, and they were full on. Their CD, this is the best, man. Their CD that they released, it was like a saw blade. It actually had the point on it like a saw blade. Like it was like just
metal.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
awesome.
And I actually played in Tortured for a while I was in WRETCH, and before Marcus was in WRETCH, I played in there for 6 months.
Okay.
And WRETCH was just taking too much of my time, and Tortured were trying to get more time out of me, and I just didn't have it, so I left. And fast forward about 12 months from when I left, and Marcus had left the band by then as well, and we got him to come in and play bass. Nice. And it's been that way since 2015. He's been in the band, so 6 years.
And now WRETCH did those 2 EPs that you mentioned.
We've done 1 EP and 2 full albums.
1 EP and 2 full albums. Okay, Okay, awesome. And they're all available on Bandcamp. You can go check them out, and the link in the description. That is awesome. And aside from that, I remember. So that's your staple band, yeah. WRETCH is like that's like your gung ho. That's kind of like your strong. You go to, but I do remember you being in a country band, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's not a thing anymore? That's
no.
Okay.
I quit the country band when my daughter Imogen was born.
Mm-hmm.
So Imi is now 3.5. So it's been that long since I've been in the band.
Shout out Imogen.
She's a unit. She'll hear this.
Yeah.
No, she's awesome. She's the love of my life. I love all my kids, but Imi, when she was born, it was about 2 weeks before Tamworth, and the band I was playing in is a band called BREWIN. Again, a local sort of. They're not. They're Canberra based, but they're kind of out of town, Bungendore kind of based. Mm-hmm. And they'd done a few sort of decent gigs here and there, and I was more their guitar tech than anything else.
Okay.
And they took me up to Tamworth one year. In 2016, they took me to Tamworth as a guitar tech.
Okay.
Come up for the week, come and hang out, come and see what it's all about. Because I love extreme metal, and I love classic metal, but I love country music as well.
And can you explain to the audience what Tamworth? What's in Tamworth? Why is that such a thing?
It's kind of like the Mecca of country music in Australia. It's like the Nashville of Australia of sorts.
Right.
For 2 weeks every year, Tamworth is just full, like absolutely chock-a-block full of people, full of artists, full of buskers, full of fans, full of everything. It's just insane, the atmosphere there.
Yep.
And the who's who of Australian country go there, right? That's where Keith Urban cut his teeth, Luke Koenig and James Blundell, Adam Brand, all of these people, they all cut their teeth at Tamworth. It's almost this little microcosm. It's got its own radio station, fully, national radio station.
Yeah,
they've got their own awards, they've got their own labels, they've got everything. It's so independent of mainstream music, but it's mainstream music. It's really, really interesting side of things. A little bit clicky at times, but from my experience, it was very clicky. But
that must have been a great experience, just being in amongst it musically.
It was, and I joined the band after I got back, and 2016 was a wild year. Mm-hmm. I joined BREWIN as a guitarist. As the other guitar, there was 2 lead guitarists, and I also went and played in Europe with WRETCH. So you've got this almost Jekyll and Hyde thing. I've got this extreme metal thing on one side, and this kind of music thing on the other side.
I remember that just being such a cool thing. I think that's like it says a lot about your versatility as a guitarist, and I think as just the experience of having those two things for yourself, it must be just like, you know, priceless.
Yeah, it was awesome, and it was such an eye opener. I met some amazing players and got some amazing friends. You know, in my time in BREWIN, I was in BREWIN for just under 2 years. After Tamworth, I announced that I was leaving the band. Played my last gig with them at the Sydney Country Music Festival in 2017. So that was with Lee Kernaghan, James Blundell, Ben Ransom, Christy Lamb, all of these amazing, Drew McAllister, all of these amazing artists. It was a fun day. And you know what? I probably played the best I've ever played. Doing the country band, I kind of did that for a while, and it was a lot of fun, taught me a lot, but then I always come back to
the metal.
Yeah.
I've always known you to, from an early age, to just always, you've always been geared towards that. You've always had your interest delved into that, and I think it's I don't know if it's the culture that surrounds it, or if it's just the, you know, the guitar playing. I think I remember when you got your first electric guitar, and and I remember this so vividly. I remember you went from being an okay guitarist, within 2 days, it's like you just sat at home and fucking, it's like you cracked the code in 2 days, and all of a sudden I come around and you were like, and I'm like, what? It's like, it's, you know what I mean? You found it straight away. And I think that from there, it was just on. You were just on, you know, just nonstop.
And you know what? I've still got that guitar, Shane. I've still got that one.
I'm so glad.
That was the one my mum bought me.
I remember that. It's
18,
beautiful. Awesome. Now just you mentioned something there before. I remember you travelled with was that with WRETCH or was it was with WRETCH? Yeah, okay. And I remember you were given you ordered a blue guitar that was a custom guitar.
Yep.
That you took with you. Yeah.
And funnily enough, this ties back into something we spoke about earlier as well.
Yeah.
So originally, I was playing Advance guitar that Rusty had said, oh, you know what, it's sitting around collecting dust, just see what you think of it. And I set it up for WRETCH. You know, it's a lower tuning, C sharp standard, heavy strings, set up for extreme metal, and it's been my go-to guitar. It's my baby with WRETCH. It's my absolute baby, that guitar. And when we were announced that we were going to Europe, I really wanted to take it with me, but I didn't want to deal with flight cases, and the guitar is a set neck. So I had a rush of shit to the brain and thought, you know what? What if we did a bolt-on that I could take the neck off and put it in my suitcase? And Rusty comes from an aeronautical engineering background. So he was like, no, not going to happen. No. And then like 2 days later, he had the design.
Wow, that's awesome.
He built the guitar, and then as we're building, it was basically going to be a clone of my original one with the single bridge humbucker, single volume knob, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bolt-on version. And in the time that I asked him to build it to the time it was delivered, I joined BREWIN. And I'm like, well, you know, let's kill two birds with one stone. Let's put a neck pickup in it so I can do country music.
Right.
So when I come back from Europe, I can put regular strings on it, play an E standard, and play country music. So that was the thing. That's where it all happened.
What a great idea. Has this been done before by any other?
I think it's been done. I don't know if it's been done this well.
Right.
Honestly, don't know if it's been done this well, because that guitar is built like a brick surf club. Like, it just is so robust and so strong. The neck is titanium reinforcement in the neck, so it doesn't move, so it's dead straight.
Okay. So for anyone watching that's interested in something like this, I mean, is there a chance you could like have a custom made Bob Harvey guitar in the future?
There is a Bob Harvey signature guitar, and this is what I'm going to touch back on. Right?
Okay.
Andrew, because Rusty had heard Glitterous and wanted to build Andrew a guitar, and she said, I want, you know. And Rusty mentioned the idea of the bolt-on neck, and she was like, I love it, because, you know, at the time before COVID, when people were traveling, she would, you know, they'd planned to go to New Zealand, and she was going to go back because she's English. She was going to go home. You know, she wanted to take the guitar with her, so she got the bolt-on neck as well. And when our paths crossed, we were talking about the design of the guitar and the bolt-on neck and everything, and she was so into the idea, and that's how our paths crossed. That's exactly how it started.
Wow, that's
It was
unreal.
all from this blue guitar, yeah.
Wow, that's a good story to bring back to there.
Yeah, that's right, and that's the guitar that I took to Europe. And
Unreal.
within 6 weeks of being home from Europe, I was at the Denny Ute Muster with that same guitar playing with James Blundell and BREWIN. Yeah, about this time in 2016 we got back. So it was 5 years ago we got back from Europe.
Yep.
And we've played a number of shows since then, like, local supports for international bands.
Nice.
Played with Cryptopsy, and we played with Cattle Decapitation, the Black Dahlia Murder Aborted, all of these really cool bands. But it was all leading to recording a new album. We've really been pushing for a new album.
Yep. And you've got the songs for that?
Oh, it's all done. We've actually recorded everything.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Up to a studio in Kurnell, just in Sydney. We did that in late February, early March this year, and we went up and recorded about a dozen songs.
Hell yeah.
Which it's really interesting coming from that grindcore. Grindcore's known for short, fast, aggressive music. Everything's short. Everything's like,
and generally grotesque names from what I've noticed.
And you know what? That's why I didn't actually say the name of the Bandcamp link, because it's pretty vulgar.
Yeah.
And early days, it was all about pushing that envelope. And I'll never, ever forget, on the album, there's a song title with the acronym PRBD. And I'm not going to say what it is because, again, I don't think it's aged very well. But the song itself, I remember when it got reviewed by someone, they said, that's got to be the most offensive song title of the century thus far. And
sure.
I'm like,
what is the premise behind? Like, is the premise behind the naming of the songs and the kind of, I guess, I don't know,
imagery and stuff,
the imagery and maybe like the kind of the angriness and the power behind it and the I guess violence and you know what I mean, like whatever it is that the idea is to push it as hard as you kind of can to sort of, is it shock value or is it, what's the direct, in
the early days it was for us, it was all about shock value. Let's make the most offensive song titles we can, let's be the most vulgar pricks we can be.
And in doing that, is it kind of like tongue in cheek at the same time?
Oh,
that's the idea, right?
Lots of like plays on words. Like I always, PRBD is by far and away the most offensive song title I can still think of. Okay. I honestly don't know anything more offensive than that song title.
Yep.
It's an acronym for a reason. But there's a song that I gauge people with, and when people say, you got offensive material, I'm like, yeah, man, I've got some offensive material, right? Where, again, I'll refer back to the acronym song, PRBD, was me being as absolutely offensive as I could be. And I still, I barely tell people that song title. Yeah. And I really don't think it's aged well. And it's right. and coming back to it now, we're a band, we're 10 years on now. And, we've got 3 releases. Each release is getting less and less like that.
Right, okay.
I don't want to say we've matured because it sounds so wanky.
But I think it's important for people to understand that aren't in that realm or haven't dealt with that might see a song title like that. Or they might see it or hear the music and they might think, oh, there's a certain kind of, there's always this certain kind of like maybe misunderstanding as to where these people are coming from that make this style of music, because it's always so interesting. They're the most
and stuff, and
it's generally like from what I can see or what I've experienced, generally it's the people like that are in these bands are the most nicest, the most genuine, soft people. You know what I mean?
And I'm not going to tell you now because it's like I won't tell you on camera.
Yeah.
The difference in the people in the band that I play in, the 5 occupations of the people in the band I play in are so different. Like they really are. And everyone's background is different, but we all have this common goal, and it's to play this extreme aggressive music.
Yeah, cool.
I feel it was almost kind of beaten out of us a little bit with Tirades when we released it, because we sent it off to Metal Hammer, which was at the time the biggest metal publication in the world. We sent it off for review, and they put us on their Fear Candy, and it's on the front of the magazine, and this magazine goes around the world, right? On the front of the magazine, they have a disc, like a CD, with songs of the bands that have been featured, and we got featured. And we're like, cool, they were saying some really nice things about us in the original sort of promo thing. When the album got reviewed, we got absolutely smashed because of content, because of dumb samples, because of all not dumb samples, but like, you know, fart samples and things that we had in the songs and stuff, right? You know, because we've always been a bit of a goofy kind of band. We have, and anyone that's seen us know that there's always at least one of those like, oh, that sample, where the hell did you get that from? And on this latest recording, because we got so panned for the ones in tirades, we're like, you know what, let's stop with the goofiness. Let's stop with the offensiveness. You know, let's just write some really aggressive music and let's just see what happens. So the stuff that we've written now isn't as, like, the song titles aren't offensive anymore. They're more sort of introspective. Whenever anyone's pissed off, there's always a thing of Wretch that says write some grind. So we wrote that. So I wrote this song called Wishbone, and it's I'm pretty sure it's going to be the first song on the album, and it is so just and you can like, yeah, and it's about a shitty chicken place in Sydney. so you know, the inspiration comes from all walks of life, you know, all facets of life.
We could probably, I'm sure that you and I could literally talk for hours and hours, and I am certain that we will do another one of these. There will be a part 2 of this conversation. Maybe
we'll do it after the new album comes out. How about that?
That would be amazing. That would definitely be amazing.
I'm going to say this to you as well. I've got something for you. I'm going to send it to you, and I want you to put your vocals over it for me. So I'm going to send it
hell yeah.
after this. I did a cover. I recorded a cover a while back, and I'm not sure if I sent it to you or not. I can't remember. But I recorded a cover of an indie band from the 90s in Australia called Pollyanna.
Okay.
And I did a heavy interpretation of one of their songs, and I'm going to send it to you. I want you to check it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay, that's awesome. Everyone look out for these things. So Bob's got a new album coming out with WRETCH.
Yet to be named.
Just to reiterate, you can go and check out WRETCH's past 2 albums and an EP at WRETCH on Bandcamp, and the link is in the description.
We're also, the Tirades is on Spotify as well. And
Tirades is on Spotify?
Somewhere as well,
Okay, awesome.
So just quickly, I started another project. I went back, and because I've got my own recording set up at home with Pro Tools, and, you know, I've got a butt ton of amps and, you know, all of this stuff to be able to record, I actually went back and re-recorded all of those SMUG GOAT songs.
No way.
And brought them into the 2016 or 17 when I recorded them.
Wow, that's cool.
Phenomenal. They sound so good. So what I did was I sent them out to the boys and said, here you go, there they are, they're done. Yeah. And then I started writing more. And I started a project. It'll probably get off the ground again at some stage, but it's a project called Panzer Shark, and it's very much along the lines of SMUG GOAT, that sort of classic thrash. Right. The other thing that I will mention is, it seems a bit weird, but I've written a whole heap of like punk and things like Discharge, The Exploited, Poison Idea, that sort of thing, and I'm hoping to get that off the ground at some stage as well, under the name Maniac Cop. So so we'll see what happens. Yeah, there's some real look. I've always got stuff. I've got tons and tons of music. So
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah! I can't wait for the you know, for the future of WRETCH and for all these other side projects. I can't wait to work with you personally. You know, it's something that we've been talking about for a long, long time, and I know it's going to happen. It's just things that just keep popping up here and there and everywhere. It's sort of, Bob, it has been an absolute freaking pleasure to talk to you today, and I just want to, I think that's it for today, guys. Keep rocking, keep rolling.
Thanks. And you did record this, right?
Well, yeah, we will soon see.